Hello again. As promised, when I finished the bike, I would make another episode. And without further ado, here's number 16. And I'm very happy with the way she came out. I finished it a few days ago. And as you can tell by the exhaust pipes, I've already put a few miles on it to adjust, to fine-tune my carburation, my suspension, my the lever position, and everything else that has to go with a new build. Make sure that I abuse it a little bit before around town before I take it on a longer road trip, just to make sure that nothing falls off of it. And boy, I am very pleased with the way she turned out. And today I'm gonna walk you around it before I crash it. Because I haven't really tested its limits yet. I still have to learn how to ride this particular motorcycle because they all have different lean angles and so forth. But I want to do this video before I do all those crazy stunts because I don't want to crash it before I have proof of it. And actually today I'm gonna compare this one and the things I've learned while building this bike. I'm gonna compare it with that one after we're done talking about what we did. And most of you, if you've been watching the shows, then you know, you're mostly familiar with it. But a Norton fuel tank got installed as low as possible to the frame and as far forward. You can see there's barely any gap in between the frame and the fuel tank. So the fuel tank got installed first, Norton Commando, and after that fuel tank got installed, the location of the headlight was revealed, and also the location of the seat. Everything else just fell into place. Well, I'm very happy with the way she turned out. Very streamlined, very aerodynamic looking, and I couldn't be happier with those pipes. The Hagon rear shocks, I fell in love with them decades ago when I first saw them, and I'm surprised that I've never used them on a Harley before until now. And they're just so pretty and simple. There's just nothing to them. It's they belong there. They belong on a bike. One thing, while you weren't looking, I replaced this. I went in the clutch, and this is a problematic plate for the Harley clutches. They tend to come apart and lose all those rivets in between the chain and the gearing. So I opened up the clutch, got rid of this, and replaced it with two steel plates and a friction plate in between them, and that way it increased my clutching power. Also, I added a little bit of loop over there for my kickstand to find it easier, because once it is folded up there, it is very difficult to find it with those rear sets that I made for it. But I think I left the last episode with I was going to round off those corners, and I did, and they came out much nicer, much prettier looking. And I'll compare with the other bike in a little bit so you can see why I didn't like them. But the coil came out nice. The coil location is, you notice I made that bracket to hold it up there, and from previous bikes I lowered the coil a little bit and I brought it outwards just so it doesn't interfere with the petcock and the fuel lines. but it looks good on there. I obviously replaced its dyna. I replaced the whole ignition system with a dyna from the original Harley ignition system. Also, I replaced a mirror because unfortunately the old Stadium English-made mirror was vibrating too much, and I think the round mirror looks somewhat better than a trapezoid, the trapezoid mirror I had on there before. But let's start her up. Let's start her up and see what she sounds like. Why don't I show you a position from a rider's point of view? It is very simple. There's nothing to it. Again, my specifics for the motorcycle: the tire pressure, gasoline, octane, oil viscosity, and spark plug gap. And number 16 motorcycle that I've built. And there's a dashboard, nice and simple, nothing fancy. There's clutch are short as possible. Both levers are. The front brake is very short and narrow too. Minimal clearance between the fuel tank and everything else. Same on this side. The fuel gauge, the fuel window works. You can see I got about a half a gallon in there, or a half a fuel tank rather. And let's start her up. It's in neutral. That's the neutral light over there. This will be my high beam, but let's start it up. It's a cold engine right now, so you'll spot her a little bit. This is my low beam and high beam. Oil pressure gauge sitting right there, and it sounds great. It's not obnoxiously loud. It's nice and mellow until you actually get on it, and then you'll make some noise for sure. You'll sound like a motorcycle. While you're looking, there was my voltage regulator was mounted in this area. I decided, because I didn't want any wires to run along the frame rail, I moved that voltage regulator all the way back there underneath the swing arm, and hopefully the swing arm itself will keep most of the mud off of it. It should, but I think it'll work just the same back there as it would have in the front. And also this bracket right here, I was debating about cutting it off, but that was where my original exhaust used to bolt onto. And I'm flirting with the idea of making a similar bracket on the other side of the frame, and making a center stand for the bike. I'll make maintenance much easier back there. But it's how the exhaust is mounted up there. You can see that bolt I made with welded on C-channel that gives that aluminum some strength. Without that extra support in the center, this bracket would have probably broken. Eventually would have snapped right where the bolt hole is, right in the center. And I think that should help it quite a bit. But now let's talk about how we deviated from the older, that bike being number 13, my number 13 custom. This one is number 16. what have I learned from both of them? That one obviously has a straight loop, frame loop in the back, and that's great for holding quite a bit of luggage back there. This one does not. The loop goes upwards a little bit, very short, and ends right at the seat. And it basically is just to hold down my tail light and my license plate. That's its only purpose, and to keep the mud off my back. But it's much lighter this way. Fuel tank. This is a little bit different than that fuel tank. That is a Norton Manx, and it's instantly recognizable even from 100 yards away. This one is a Norton Commando. It's a little bit skinnier, 3.5 gallon tank, and it's quite a bit longer. Makes for an extra longer reach. You'll notice the bump stop. It's also a little further back. That bump stop is. You see where it comes up next to the springs. The bump stop is a little further forward, while this one is almost on top of the spring, and I think it looks much better. It allows me to stretch a little further, move my bum backwards. Also, another thing I learned is that fairing. The fairing is very beautiful, very nice and rounded off, but it dictates where the handlebars go. And you'll see that the handlebars on this one are slightly below the top of the triple tree, that being the triple tree right there. These ones are quite a bit lower, because the fairing restricts the position of the handlebars. These handlebars are quite a bit higher, about 2 inches higher, exactly by this much, because on that bike I left that elbow off of the clip-on bars, so these ones do raise it a little bit, gives me more comfort. What else did I learn? The foot peg position. It's you'll see this one. It's almost in line with the swing arm, and exactly in the middle of the seat. Onto number 16 bike, they're quite a bit lower, 1.5 inches lower to be more exact. 1.5 inches lower underneath that swing arm, and also you'll notice that they're not in the middle of the seat. It's slightly forward to it. It's in between the middle and the beginning of the seat, the start of the seat. And what that does, it adds quite a lot more comfort, believe it or not. Your knees don't have to be as far bent backwards, and they'll breathe a little better there. They're a lot more comfortable. Now, let's see, what else can I add to this? Fairing will not allow my business card on the front fender over there. That one, just not enough space to fit one in there. And as I mentioned earlier, the roundness of the fins, it's quite noticeable, especially the engine fins are so nice and contoured, where by comparison the number 13 bike are still squared off. I didn't do the same trick to this one, but you notice the very sharp angles there, sharp corners, just nowhere near as pretty. And with that, I think I covered just about everything. I cannot wait to put some extra miles on this and learn its capabilities, learn its limitations, and hopefully it should last me quite a long while, because I think I solved all the problems the original Harley came with, and I'm vastly improved on it. much lighter than the original bike was. I did not hot rod the engine. I did not improve the braking system or the suspension by a whole lot. But what I did do is lighten the bike by quite a lot of weight, and that alone should improve all other aspects of the motorcycle. And I think that's about all I have to cover for you. For those of you who have been watching the episodes, I thank you, and hopefully I'll see you soon with another cool bike episode. We'll see. I first have to find them before I do another episode. But with that, I'll leave you, and we'll chat soon. Bye-bye.